Hi beloveds, it's Karuna here and welcome to my channel. If you are interested in signing up for my newsletter or inquiring about private sessions, please go ahead and see my contact information in the text below this video. Today we're going to look at isolation. Why is it that those of us who've experienced childhood adversity or childhood trauma have a tendency to isolate? There are three aspects I'd like us to consider, and I want you to know it's the double-sided coin. Kind of like your greatest strength can also be a weakness, kind of like one of those things. So today we're going to look at three aspects around isolation, and I hope it's super helpful for you to understand why we have a tendency to isolate. The first aspect to consider is our contemplative nature. When we arrived here and we arrived to people around us, caregivers around us who were confused and had varied levels of ability to express love, when we noticed that we were not receiving this on the outside, this starts a profound inner journey. That inner journey leads us to insights. Our contemplative nature, our nature to inquire inside, to ask questions, will be one of the most rewarding journeys we can ever take. It is actually a great boon to those of us on this channel. And at the same time, our contemplative nature, the quieter part of ourself, will have a tendency to isolate rather than seeking external confirmation of our value, of our worth. We started this inward journey. We sought inner confirmation, inner knowing. And this journey is deeply rewarding. And at the same time, it can feel kind of lonely, can it? We see the world outside of us going on about its daily activities. And we wonder, well, what are we missing out on? It's okay. It's okay to be contemplative. It's okay to seek inner confirmation. The inner journey is spoken about by all the great saints. And if you're on this channel, I know that you're on this journey, and it is a rewarding journey. So rather than seeking external confirmation, which was not available to us when we were younger, we started this inward journey and we sought internal confirmation. The answer is inside. As we become adults, it can become overly contemplative. We can have a tendency to isolate, and that becomes painful. At times, it will be so agonizing to be alone that you will seek the company of a group, a class. It will force you into a place where you can re-enter the external world. Aspect number two, that's this double-sided coin, is the beauty of your own heart. When you're young, all the heart wants is to love and to be loved. And we arrive here really with that hopeful expectation, that knowing that we are going to be loved. That's how it rolls. But it didn't roll that way, did it? The beauty of our heart, it gets hurt. Residues are placed on our heart. It's deeply, deeply painful. It brings up issues of self-worth, not feeling good enough, feeling like you're the only person on the planet that's ever thought this way. When that love is not reflected back to you, our dear little sweet minds get the idea somehow that it's our fault and it's shameful. So that your beautiful, beautiful heart is so, so tender and remains so tender and something to be cherished. It's the heart that leads us through this journey of integration, of healing from trauma. It's the heart that leads. And at the same time, it's the heart that's deeply vulnerable. When we see our world interacting in greed, manipulation, confusion, why would we want to subject our dear heart to that again? So in other words, the heart can get triggered when it goes out into the world. Instead of subjecting yourself to this again by being in the world with people at various layers and levels of understanding, why would we want to go out and subject our dear heart to that? At the same time, we want to offer the beauty of the heart to the world. We want to be in service to our world. So it becomes painful to isolate. How do we keep our hearts strong enough, fierce love, in order to make it through our world and be clear with our intention and clear with our alignment? The third aspect to consider is, when did that moment of isolation become safer than the moment to be in our world? This happens so young, when we're so vulnerable. There's a moment of decision when we decided somehow it was safer to be inside than it was to be out and about in our world, expressing our talents, being with others, and serving others. So looking at that moment where this imprint that isolation was safer than actually being in my world, and considering that moment, it can help untie the knots. It can help loosen the density. When was that for you? You may not be able to pinpoint it, but can you feel into it? If you're a feeling person, feel into it. If you're a visual person, visualize, and then let it take you to an emotion. By going to the source, we understand, and isolation doesn't quite have the pull on us. We become empowered to know that isolation was only part of our identity, and indeed our empathy and our beautiful heart leads the way. Many people in our world are confused right now. They don't know which way to turn. We do see greed and manipulation, materialism placed above love. But you and I and others on this channel, we recognize this. We begin to unravel the confusion. We start to slowly, inevitably, develop the strength of being in our world. Yes, a world that places consumerism over connection. We lift the density. We see through the fog. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The question becomes, what do you do when you unsee the confusion in the world? What do you do when you recognize that you and I and others on this channel and others across this planet are holding hands together? When you recognize that we are the ones who value connection, inclusivity, relationship with each other, with our world, with animals. We literally wouldn't hurt a fly. Do you know how empty our world would be if we did not have empaths, if we did not have you and I and others with hearts as wide as the world, hearts so big that it can lead us through trauma and through the pain of isolation? You are a blessing to your world exactly as you are. And by you not buying into the pathology of overt consumerism, of greed, of manipulation, by you simply not buying into that pathology, you are not replicating that. And that's an important contribution. Let that contribution slowly bring you out of the tendency to isolate. We're liberating ourselves, we're liberating each other, and indeed, we're liberating our world. Allow your trauma to serve so that we may serve others. Please be in touch as inspired. Share your comments below, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.